feeling good this afternoon? I don't know where you're logging in from. Make sure you tell us in the chat function your name, your country, and where you're logging in from. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So if you are new here, welcome to the G4G fraternity. If you are coming back and joining us for the third Fireside chat, welcome back. So please introduce yourself in the chat function. We're going to have a very, very exciting session. Tell us one of your expectations, and we'll be definitely happy to fulfill them. Please keep the questions coming. I know you're very expectant. We are currently at 93 participants, and I know the numbers are going up as we go along. So if you are new to Girls for Girls, commonly known as G4G, and you're wondering what we are all about, G4G is a global mentoring initiative that was born in Harvard in 2016. And today we are global. We are in 7 African countries, including Uganda. And our aim is to inspire women to develop the courage, the vision, the skills to lead in their sphere of influence. At the end of this session, we'll definitely let you know how you can be part of us or how you can be able to go through mentorship in our fraternity. And how do we do mentorship? Our methodology is very unique. We use stories. And therefore today, the Fireside Chat was born because of the same. We want to bring women together to be able to share their stories and be able to inspire one another. I am very sure you saw a flyer going up, and this topic is very near to my heart. And I'm sure you've gone through one of these times in your life where you have hit rock bottom. You know how the drill goes? When life throws you lemons, you make lemonade. And when life throws you rocks, you build a palace with it. And when life gets tough, you become tougher. You've been told all those things before. But how do you practically get yourself up from rock bottom and reinvent yourself? And today we have an amazing lineup of panelists who are going to share with us their own journeys in making this thing happen. It reminds me of a quote from Dale Carnegie, who said, most of the important things in the world have been accomplished by people who have kept on trying when there was no hope, when they had all the reasons to give up. So I'm sure you're one of them, and I am too. And I felt like giving up at some point in my career and also in my life. So, but how do you keep on going even when the going gets tough? And that's what we're going to do today. My name is Stella Kivila. I am a pharmacist and I am a coachpreneur as well. I run an enterprise called Performance Point International, where we help organizations build high performance teams. I'm also a team leader and board member of Girls for Girls. And I have an amazing lineup of panelists today, starting from the one and only Sharon Tumusime, who is the Director of Products at Palit. She's a serial entrepreneur and a business owner with a couple of businesses and several business ideas that are yet to be implemented. So watch this space. You're going to be seeing Sharon coming up with so many businesses in town and actually around the globe. She's a lover of God. She's passionate about adding value to the people that she interacts with. She loves working with teams. She loves fun. And she is a graduate of the Synapses Entrepreneurship Academy. And she has a postgraduate in management from Uganda Management Institute. One of the things that caught my eye about Sharon, she's the only person who can pull off purple mascara. You should meet her, people. You should meet her. And not only does she run businesses, but she also helps other people run businesses through the BNI Sunrise chapter, where she is the president. And BNI stands for Business Network International. You are so welcome, Sharon. And Sharon is a cohort leader for one of our Girls for Girls cohorts, Sunday Soul Ladies, and she's also been a mentor at G4G ICA Insurance. You are so welcome, Sharon. Happy to have you here with us. The next lady I'm going to introduce, you're most welcome, Sharon. The next lady I'm going to introduce is logging in all the way from South Africa. Rita Motlana, the one and only global citizen. So Rita is a consultant working in the health and development sector with over 17 years of experience in various countries in East, West, East Asia. I think I have covered the globe. Her key coverage areas are monitoring and evaluation, strategy development, organizational development, resource mobilization, governance, project management, and coordination. She previously worked as a senior manager in advisory services in PricewaterhouseCoopers, Namibia, Deloitte shareholder and director at DevBat Consult, a consulting company that specializes in providing public health and M&E services to large global health programs, predominantly the Global Fund to fight HIV, TB, and malaria, and the Vaccine Alliance, Gavi. Rita is a certified trainer and facilitator at Franklin Covey Institute, and she's passionate about building capacity. And she is a team leader of G4G South Africa. Now, what you don't know about Rita is that she's a lawyer, and now she's an M&E expert, and she holds an MBA from Heriot-Watt University in Scotland. You are so welcome, Rita.
Thank you, Stella.
And the moderator of the day, Madam Rachel Dumba. Rachel is a partner in Stedman Global Consulting, a leading management, HR, and development firm with operations across Africa. Her vision, wait for this, people, is for McKinsey to be a co-owner in her firm within 10 years' time. And already we have covered 2, so we have 8 more years to go. McKinsey, if you're listening in, just know Rachel is waiting for you to invest in her company. You are so welcome. Let me hand over the session to Rachel, the lady with the belly fire. Welcome, Rachel.
Thank you very much, Stella, for that awesome introduction, and a big and warm welcome to you all ladies. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you're calling in from. Please get yourself a cup of coffee, get yourself a cup of tea, a glass of water, when it clocks 5 o'clock, a glass of wine, of course, as we get ready to enjoy an awesome ride with Rita and Sharon, who've already been introduced. So Rita, welcome from Joburg, and Sharon, Karibu from Kampala, Uganda. So we'll start off now with you, Rita. Tell us about yourself. Describe yourself in 3 words and explain why those 3 words.
Okay. For those who know me, I am committed. I never pick up a cause and stop halfway. Once I sign up, you have me 100% of the way. I would also say that I'm extremely organized. I call myself a super planner. My husband, my child, my family know that. My work people know that. I never do anything without a plan. That's simply who I am. It's where I derive comfort from. And I'm passionate. I believe that you are allowed, and we as women are entitled to bring our emotion to the table. For me, it's what enables me to bring the necessary energy to whatever it is that I'm doing. So I think, yeah, that's who I am. Committed, a super planner, passionate.
Awesome, awesome. I can attest to the passion, Rita. I know how passionately you've prepared for this session, and I've worked with you. Sharon, over to you. Please describe yourself in 3 key words and why.
Okay, thank you very much, Rachel. 3 words, quickly, I would say I'm resilient. My level of recovery is very unbelievable. I don't let things keep me down for long. I fall down, pick up, dust off, and keep moving. And this mainly is drawn from God, knowing that God is in control. Really in control. He's in control of everything. And that's where I believe I get my serial entrepreneurship. Leave this one on to the next. And I am very empathetic. I put myself in other people's shoes. I have the ability to feel what people feel and experience it as well. And where possible, I would like to do something. I'm always, trying a cause here and a cause there because of that empathy. And another thing is that I'm very assertive. I'm quite direct and self-confident. I express my views quite strongly. Sometimes I come off as insensitive probably or rude or something. I was once passed off from a promotion because I was too assertive. My boss felt my clients might give somebody else the job because of that. However, I've developed self-awareness and I am able to manage it now, but I am very assertive. So that's it. My three traits that describe myself.
Oh, lovely, lovely, Sharon. I love the assertion and the fact that you keep going. Fall down 7 times, get up 8 times. So Sharon, over to you since you are still on the floor. If you were a leading female personality, who would that be and why? Think global, anyone.
Okay, you said I think global, but I'm going to think local. I would be Professor Joy Kwesiga. She's the current Vice Chancellor of Kabale University. She's a gender specialist, a community activist. She started her career as an executive secretary in Makerere University and grew all the way to become a head of a faculty. And won herself a seat at the table with the big players at the university. And she moved on from there and moved on to a place where she could add value. Kabale University, it was a small university, not really known, and she has managed to transform that space. She's a courageous leader and she's been able to break barriers as well as influence. So she's a disruptor. So because of that, for me, I would want to be, if I was to be, I would be Professor Joy Kwesiga, Vice Chancellor, Kabale University. Yes.
Awesome, awesome, Sharon. I actually know Professor Joy Kwesiga. I've met her. She's an Iron Lady and she's a driver. So by global, Uganda is part of the global village. So that's an awesome answer. Rita, over to you. Who would you be if you were a leading woman personality today?
Okay, so not today. For me, it would be the late Winnie Madikizela Mandela. I sometimes wonder whether I attracted myself to South Africa or South Africa attracted myself to me. My husband is South African. Winnie was fearless. She was very clear in terms of what she wanted for her country. At a time when no one else could put up their fist and say, Amandla, she did it. At the same time, she was a mother. I think when you listen to the way people described Winnie, they talk about a woman who cared. So I admire her for the fact that she was as brave as the guys and came across as tough as the guys. However, she did it in a very feminine way. If you look at Winnie's pictures, she still comes across as the feminine. So she owned who she was. And what she did for this country where I'm sitting today is phenomenal. I had the privilege of meeting Winnie, but even amongst the common folks, when she didn't know who people were, she still had a time to stop and hug. She was in Entebbe Airport the first time she came to Uganda to say hey to the Umkhonto Wesizwe boys. So to be able to balance that, you're a leader, you give inspiration, you're tough as nails, but you're still able to be woman. I think for me, that is absolutely phenomenal. So I would want to be her.
Oh, awesome, awesome, Rita. I don't want to say you look like her, but there's a resemblance. Okay, Rita, we'll now stick with you. Thinking about your life as your life journey as a woman and as a professional, please share with us some of the challenges you faced along this journey.
So I'll give you a little bit of context. So like I think Stella pointed out earlier on, my initial profession and my initial love, what I really wanted to be was to be a lawyer. So that's what I studied for. But life gave me something else. I fell in love. The love of my life turned out to be a South African diplomat. So as I was graduating out of Makerere University, I then had to, my family life became different. It was every 3 or 4 years I had to keep moving ground. And you will know that as a lawyer, you have to study and be accredited within the respective jurisdiction that you're in. So I've had, as a professional woman, I've had to make a lot of twists and turns. We came to South Africa, I accredited my law degree over here. Just as I was completing that, we were relocated to the United States. And I had to take a step back and say to myself, am I going to continuously keep, going back, or, am I going to keep trying to reinvent myself? And that's how the MBA that Stella was talking about, came along. So, and what I did an MBA to complement, you all know lawyers are not good with numbers. I figured that as I was moving around and I was hopping around countries, I needed to be exceptional, which meant I needed for someone to look at my CV and say, okay, lawyer, but hey, how does this then merge with an MBA? And how do you end up working within the public health space? So my side hustle, you can't understand that language, coming through university, I had been a mini activist talking about HIV on radio, promoting and doing studies on HIV within Makerere University. So I had all these different sides of me. So it's funny that when I finally got my first job at the age of 28, so I was pretty old by the time I started working, Deloitte said, yeah, the MBA and the LLB are all good, but what we really want is this monitoring and evaluation within HIV. So it's the coming together was really about me blending, melding, but always being able to reinvent myself. So when we talk about, falling down, it wasn't falling down. For me, it was like, how do you push the envelope? It could easily have been for me that I said, be a good diplomat's wife. It's a very comfortable lifestyle. But I thought to myself, the free scholarship my government gave me to go into university, the belief my family has in me, so, how is it that I can keep pushing the envelope? So I found that in all the different countries that I was going through, I had to continuously reinvent myself by picking up different professions.
Awesome, Rita. And something that's interesting about you is when you Google Rita, you'll see M&E specialist. So the legal aspect is now in the background and it's all about M&E specialist. So related to that, Rita, I know you've lived in 7 countries. You've worked in 21 countries, including Ghana, Vietnam, Ukraine, Liberia. We met in Sierra Leone. So I know you've worked in Sierra Leone. What was the most disruptive time in your former employment?
Okay, so let me take a step back. Again, give you context. So different countries that I'd gone to, Zambia, worked in South Africa for a little stint with Deloitte. Then I got to Namibia. By the time I got to Namibia, this was country number 5. And I really was getting tired. For every new country we went to, I always had to take 2 steps back. So for example, by the time I left Zambia, Deloitte, I had left from senior consultant manager into senior manager. When I came to South Africa, they said, no, bigger economy, we're going to put you down to manager, you have to work your way up. I was only here for 6 months. Then went to Namibia and changed companies. I joined PricewaterhouseCoopers. PricewaterhouseCoopers says the same thing to me. Yes, we can see you've been senior manager, but we're going to bring you in at manager and you're going to have to climb your way forward. I was given the development unit, which was literally non-existing, to create, expand in order to grow the PricewaterhouseCoopers business. So again, more context in terms of Namibia. For those of you who are familiar with it only, the apartheid government only ended there in 1990. So it's only a few years older than South Africa in terms of independence. And the economy within which I was working was one that has high disparities. You all know probably that one of the countries with the highest Gini coefficient is Namibia. The difference between the haves and the have-nots is terrible. So when you walk into a business, into a client's office and you say to them, I want to talk to you about development, they're like, wait a moment, PwC, white, privileged, pretty much driven, by a completely different agenda. And you're walking in here talking about HIV. I'm really not sure you belong in that space. So that was the message I kept getting in the business environment. And I kept thinking to myself, how do I change the perception? And the perception had to change twofold. It had to change within PricewaterhouseCoopers itself, that we belonged in the development space. They had recruited me and they had a reason. But 2, we needed to change the market impression. So the people that we wanted to be able to access. So I did my research and discovered that one of the better ways to do it is by obviously information. PwC Kenya had done what we called a business decision makers survey. So I decided to bring that idea over. So this is tapping into my network. And Rego, who was with PwC, is one of the people who opened it up for me. So I decided that we're going to run this survey that was going to, at the end of the day, change the perceptions and impressions of people towards PwC. But I was new in the company. I barely was there 1 year. I barely had a network. So I really had to sit down and strategize and say to myself, how do I do it? And for your information, I also had one of the smallest units that I was dealing with. I only had like 2 people underneath me, but I had a very supportive boss. So I put the idea together and I said to him, this is what I am going to do. All I need is about 10 or 12 the top rated companies in Namibia, for us to be able to interview the chief executive officers about HIV and have that conversation and wake them up and say, this is what PwC is capable of doing. Fine. How was I going to get access to those companies? I then started tapping into, in Girls for Girls, we have a concept where we talk about have a village and know your allies. So yes, I was new, but I already knew some very strategic people, and probably on this call today, people like Patikariwe Martin, and Nangula, one of the first few women partners, Black women partners in the accounting space in Namibia. So I knew that if I could tap into their network, we would make it through. And that's what we did. Long story short, we were able to get in excess of 20 companies, the top listed on the Namibia Stock Exchange. It became a buzz point whereby CEOs were saying, has PwC interviewed you? No. Why are they not interviewing me? So before we knew it, we actually had gold on our plates. Marketing, and this for me is a big lesson, is that when you tap into your allies, it means you've tapped into their circles. Once you've tapped into their circles, your influence and experience then begins to grow. So that then, became like really phenomenal. Marketing suddenly had a budget for us. We're not going to just issue a report. We're going to have a big launch. Prime Minister of Namibia agreed to be our host and launch for the day. So there I was. And for me, this is a big reflection point. How does a person who is perpetually having to reinvent herself in the space of 1 year, having been able to create, such a ripple effect? It remains a pivotal time in my life, because even today, when I no longer am within the formal work environment, I'm able to draw on strength from that. I'm able to say, be clear with your mission, be clear who your village is, draw on your allies, use the network of the allies, be authentic with yourself. The conversation that I had with the CEOs was really about saying to them, you count your profitability in dollars and cents. Do you count the lost number of hours when people are sick and ill with HIV? Could you counter it by having a better wellness program within your place? So it was not about the business for me. It was also about changing the mindset of private sector towards HIV, and then being bold. If in the beginning I had looked at what I wanted to do and said, whoa, I will never be able to ask the Prime Minister to host our event, we would never have gone anywhere. So, it was a pivotal moment for me because of all those different lessons. And for the mentees from South Africa that are listening, it is something that I hope you will be able to draw inspiration from.
Wow, Rita, boldness. You went in for 5 and had 20 companies.
Absolutely. So
amazing story. Are you still in touch with them now?
I am. I'm in touch with some of the partners. So for example, I'll probably talk about it later on, but when I started up my own business, it was still the PwC network that I leveraged on. And there's still a number of ladies, that I am still in touch with. So you can never say to me, go do something in Namibia, and I am unable to do so. I think the point, and it's a good one that you're raising, is the ability to build long-term trusting relationships. But that is built on authenticity. If it is a fake short-term relationship with a short-term gain, then you will never be able to do that. But to be able to leverage, it means that you need to bring your true authentic self. And I think people see that in you. And then you're able to then come back at any other time and ask for whatever it is that you want.
Amazing authenticity. Sharon, coming to you now. Please share with us a time when you felt you had hit a wall. You turned left, you turned right, and you had roadblocks. You fell into ditches. You hit rock bottom. Share with us an experience of yours. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Rachel. I would like to share an experience. In 2014, I was working for a clearing and forwarding company called Damco. It's part of the Epimola Mass Group. So I was formally employed, and around that time we used to get very good bonuses in that organization. Their bonus structure was really, really good. So we had just come into a very good bonus. So I got into, because I was exposed to very many business people. We are moving their cargo here and there. So they were always talking into our lives as employees, start a business. Business is the way to go. Business is the way to go. But I was full-time employed. And then something came up, and I started doing money lending. I was lending money. So I had a bonus. So I had, capital ready to start lending people. So I started lending people. So I lent for about 2 years. So in 2016, I had a very good friend of mine that was a client of mine, and he would take good chunks of money, and the interest was really good on that money. So we used to go through the process. My lawyer friend used to give me the gentleman's agreement, get the security, tick all the dots and, yes. And we used to do that and it was good. Then this one time he comes for a chunk of money. So I give him a chunk of money, go through the process, get everything that I needed to get. So usually he would take the money for a month. So within 2 weeks, he comes back and he's like, I need more money. So I'm like, oh, you need more money? I can give you more money. I mean, I've lent you for 2 years. You're my best client, why not? So I'm like, fine, let me give you the money, and we are in a hurry. Go to the bank, I give him the money. We don't do what we usually do. He doesn't sign anywhere. He doesn't give me a PDC. We don't do anything. He's like, you know what? Let's put it on the other money. I'm like, why not? Let's move on. So he pays back the first installment, the first batch that he took. Now the second was bigger than the first. And that was it. I never heard from him again. Of course, phone calls, I'm going to send it. He never paid me back. So he never paid me. So I lost everything. To this date, he has never. And for me, it was really bad. It was a huge chunk. It was the majority of my bonus that I had given him, more or less, because I had trusted him. And it was from a point of maybe carelessness, foolishness, trusting, all those things. So I really beat myself down because really it was honestly foolishness. I really trusted him and thought, you know what, why do I? He has been faithful this whole time. Why should he do it? It didn't even occur to me. So I really beat myself for that. So it was horrible. Even the systems, the painful thing is that the very systems I had put in place, I never followed them. And that was part of the reason. So I couldn't go to court. I couldn't do anything. As far as he's concerned, he never took the money. So there's no record of it. Yeah.
Oh my God, interesting. And what gave you the courage and drive to get up after having blown half your bonus and your working capital? How did you get up and how did you keep moving?
Yes, that's pretty. To say that I was depressed would be putting it lightly. You've worked, your bonus is gone. So, yeah, but the good thing. Yeah. I had surrounded myself with a good group of friends and I was more or less in the business world. I was an employee, but I was already in the business world. I have a very good friend that I used to consult on many things. And this friend of mine was into business as well. They were working, but they were into business. So I was able to share that story after so long because it was really foolish. For some time I was ashamed. I was embarrassed, So I was finally able to open up and share this experience with this friend of mine. And I explained, and they were really good and kind about it. They commiserated with me and they said, you know what, that's business. Kampala is full of these guys. So now you've had to learn the hard way, but it happens to the best of us. So they were able to share their experiences. They were able to be open with me and not cover up. And that helped me to feel that, okay, I was dumb, but it can happen to anybody. It doesn't mean that I'm a dumb person. I did something silly, but doesn't mean I'm foolish. It doesn't mean that's the end of the road. I cannot continue. So I drew the courage from someone else's experiences. That is where I picked it up from. Remember, everyone I knew was working, maybe apart from this handful of business clients and this one person. So I drew my strength from this person's experiences in order to get back on my feet and start something else. Yes.
Awesome. So you went to your village, tapped into your village and picked up the courage to keep moving. Amazing story.
Exactly.
And just to bring it home, Sharon, how disruptive did you become when you finally got up? What did you do? Did you go back into money lending?
No, I kept away from money lending. I realized, I don't know what it takes to be a money lender. So, I'll be back. But for now, keep away from that. And within that period of time, I had to continue. And then the opportunity to start carpentry came on, to join the carpentry business. So I became disruptive by going into a field where I had no previous experience, no, technical knowledge. And I started a new business. I saw an opportunity. There was a need. There was a great need, in the market for it. Everybody was looking for a carpenter that they could rely on, that they could count on. No one had time to go to a workshop, but wanted things to be made. And so because of that experience, I was like, you know what, let us try something else. I am a serial entrepreneur. So where there's an opportunity, chances are I will start a business right there. So I was able to then venture in another space yet again that many women are not seen or had to be in, or even if they're there, we don't hear about them. So I was able to put off all the professional and corporate look and go into the dirty carpentry world. Yes. So that's how disruptive I got. I went into a completely other, space that people thought I was mad initially, but here I am.
Awesome. And I know we'll be picking up on that later during our conversation. Yes. But the key lesson definitely is if you're heading north and you hit a roadblock, don't fear to head south, as long as you get to your destination.
Yes. Okay. And to always remember that, rough patches are just transporting you to the space that you need to get into.
That you need
all that.
Yes.
Transport system to get you there. Awesome. And back to you, Rita. I know you got to the top when you were in Deloitte PwC. So could you share with us what led you to leave the former work environment despite making it all the way to the top? What was that push and pull factor?
Okay, so a lot of times it's, you go, for me, it happens every 10 years. You go through that thought process where you ask yourself, am I on course towards what it is that I want to achieve? I always tell my colleagues, how being a lawyer was so important for me. In the beginning, I used to cling to it. It was like the most important label that I had. When I'd meet people and they'd say, oh, what do you do? Even when I had no job, oh, I'm a lawyer. But I had never, it took me a bit of time to figure out that it was not the label. I mean, lawyer was a label for me. What I really wanted was to give service to people. So for me, for example, when people would say, I want to be a lawyer because I'll have a big car it was never that. I always saw myself as fighting for Greenpeace. They were big those days, fighting for women's rights. And I know in class, they used to call me, Alan, I think will tell you, they used to call me the Iron Lady, Margaret Thatcher, because I was always fighting and agitating for something. So people have always been important to me. So you reach a time in your life, you've got by the way, I made it to senior manager in PricewaterhouseCoopers. You get to that level, but you're asking yourself, okay, salary is good, insurance covered, tick, you can tick everything, but you just have that, you're not comfortable in your life. But what made it decisive for me is that as I was receiving my promotion to senior management level, and it had been a really tough fight, PwC had a number of very good caliber people to pick from. As I was being handed my promotion letter, the director of my department who was promoting me said to me, this is it, right? And I'm like, what? And he says to me, this is it. You're a Black woman, but we now, from here on, we need Namibian. So for you to make it to the next level, which is director and partner, we're looking for our own. And I thought to myself, okay, so that gutted me. And I thought to myself, you don't define me. No one is going to tell me, where next for Rita. So I think even without resigning that day, in my head, I knew that I was already going to go on a different path. And now it became an issue of, reflect and see where you're going. But I resigned in order to give myself a deadline because we had a 3-month resignation period. And that's when you go deeper into yourself and you say, what is it that I wanted to do? For people who know me professionally, I'm passionately African. I believe in our capacity. I think it is our time. And I am tired of people coming and telling us what to do. So for me, who works in the development space, we deal with grants that are hundreds of millions of US dollars. I'm always saying to the countries and to the implementers, you define what it is that you want. I do audit work. I pretty much come and oversee. And every time I'm overseeing the implementers, I don't report to the countries. I report to the Global Fund. I always say to them, you understand that you can define your destiny. So as I was going through this entire thought process, I asked myself, what is it that I wanted to do? So I knew I wanted to be of service to a number of African countries. So this is where relationships kick in. While I was in PwC Namibia, I'd started training people in Zambia, started training people in Swaziland, Eswatini today. I think Lindiwe is here from Eswatini. But anyway, I already had that little network. So when I was trying to put all these bits and pieces of my life together, I knew that at least I had an entry point. So I started off as an independent consultant, concerns are always, will people recognize me without the big brand? You know, when you're coming from Deloitte, PwC, you walk in and people are like, whoa, the PwC is in the room. It was always like, will this, you know, how am I going to survive on my own? So I was initially independent. That was 2008 to 2012. 2012, I decided I was going to set up my company, my dream company that was going to do something in Africa. So today, I mean, our directors, we have two gentlemen from Kenya. Connie is from Zambia. I am here in South Africa. We've got a database of over 30 public health experts, so epidemiologists, we've got actuarians, we've got all kinds of statisticians and things like that, all over Africa. The other day I was looking in the database and I was seeing people in France and from Hong Kong. But our agenda is passionately African. And when we work not just to do like an audit. We aim to make sure that as we walk out of the room, we have left people empowered to understand how to implement better. So for me, it was that thought process. So going back to the point about lawyer, it was never about being a lawyer, the label. It was always about being able to serve people. But even serve people, serve my community has changed over the years. And that's something I would, you know, I hope people look into. Initially, you might think community is, you know, your little space in Kampala or something like that. But over the years, it grows. So for me, you know, it grew to, okay, Africa is important to me. Of late, I've even refined it further. For me, I'm passionate about youth and women, which is why I do the G4G. It moves around. I think for me, when I know I'm on the right path, I am happy. I know I'm at peace. So I challenge everyone, and the young people that I talk to all the time, I say to them, how happy are you? If you're not, then ask yourself, you know, what is it that's not making you happy, so that you can find your path towards where it is that you would like to go.
Oh, amazing. And I know, Rita, you're one of the people who inspired me to leave Citibank. You spoke to me and said...
I told you the Citibank people will put ahead, you know, they'll put a warrant out for me.
No, they're happy with what I'm doing and I'm in touch with them. But Rita, talk to us about that sticky glue. What were your fears? What were your concerns as you went out?
The big one, especially for those of the folks who work in these big companies, you know, the Maersks, the Damcos, the PwCs, the Deloitte, is that you think that you need them to validate you. One of the people who freed me, I have a very good friend of mine. We ended up having a franchise together, Natasha Patella-Williams, in Namibia. She had lunch with me. She could see how unsettled I was. This was in the period after resignation. And she said to me, you know, you're on your own brand. And I'm like, what? And she said to me, you think PwC is your brand. You make PwC. That's a lesson for life for me. Okay? But it's a fear we have, especially when you work in a big organization. You think you need that organization to give you validity. A lot of times it's so hard to just say, I am who I am, and to be brave and bold and to be able to do it. I'll not lie. You're a little bit jealous when you know you're missing out on that big global conference that you typically go and meet with your buddies. So it's something that I try and give comfort to people, that know what your value is. But of course, you don't just pick it up. It means that you must have worked hard. You must have gained respect from people. When people begin to see you for the value that you bring and being your authentic self, honestly, I'm non-apologetic about that. I say to people what I'm capable of. I also say to people what I'm what I'm not capable of doing. So sometimes I get people who say, come and do M&E in environment, or come and do M&E in you know, whatever sector. And I'm like, no, that's not me. So if you draw strength from your authentic self, you continuously invest in yourself, I think then you're able to be your own brand that speaks for itself. So for me, I'll not lie to you, the financial issues, all of us have that. When you go, you know, I had not asked my husband for any financial support in years. So of course that was also going to be an issue. So I had some practical people who were advising me, saying to me how much to save so that you're never, you know, in a bad area. But for me, that was really my biggest fear, like 90% of my fear. What will happen without the big company's name behind you? As a consultant, you really are scared of that.
Wow, no one defines you. And wrapping this up, Rita, nobody ever tells us consultants the tough times, about the tough times. Everyone says it's easy when you get in, but we know about writing proposals, 80 proposals, and getting 79 rejections.
Exactly.
So what have been your low points and your high points, and what gave you the courage not to go back to seek for more employment? Because the PwCs have been calling you on end, and other big companies.
Yeah. So for me, my lowest point was feeling alone. The work that I do is very human. It's very interactive. The day you wake up, you've resigned. You've got your little nice home office, but you're alone. So thank goodness for Zoom. I'm able to call my buddies, you know. And I think that's why I ended up setting up a company. Because I'm very much, I love being with human beings. But let's talk a little bit about the finances. Huh? And this is something that we have to be disciplined about. A lot of people end up going back to the same companies that they've resigned from, asking for employment. So it's really about, I told you I'm a planner. It really is about planning, not just the financial planning, but also the planning of the job. So I will not lie to you. By the time I walked out of PwC, I had lined them up. Remember those guys I'd been training? For your information, some of those guys that I trained today are partners in PwC. Some are sitting within the Office of the Inspector General in Geneva. Others are working in Gavi. But what I had done is that I'd said to myself, you know, what is my plan? Ask PwC Namibia, they were not interested at that point in time. So that means that as I walked out, I was walking into a network I had established. That network continues today. But the truth is, it's about building relationships. It always goes back to that. So it's ironic and funny for me that the company that I walked away from, it's not even Deloitte, but the one that I actually quit and resigned from, about 80% of my business actually comes from PricewaterhouseCoopers. How do you do that? And how do they retain you? I still get invited. Like just this year, they were inviting PwC people together to have a discussion with a global fund. And I was on that list. Why does that happen? It's because people understand that you are part of a network and you work on building that relationship. So for me, that's the one thing that I would say is that as you break out onto your own, know that you've left some very good, strong relationships and partnerships behind, and that follows you in good state. But yeah, the finances, it's hectic. Sometimes you look on paper, you can see tens of thousands of dollars owed to you, but the bank is empty. So yes, it is about planning. So you need to know what's going to happen on a rainy day and things.
Yes.
Yeah. But if you've got good relationships, you'll call Rachel and say, hey, Rachel, happy Christmas. I've done this before. Happy Christmas. I hope you have a really good Christmas. You know my invoice for XXX?
Yes.
She will spend the extra 24 hours ensuring that. But if you don't have a relationship, then it's not going to happen. So, at the end of the day, that's what it's about, relationship management.
Wow, relationships. That's our biggest takeaway from this. Now, coming to you, Sharon, and going back to the furniture business. We spoke about furniture business. And by you owning a furniture business, it's not about importing furniture from Malaysia, India, China. You actually do make the furniture in Uganda. So please share with us what it's like to work in a male-dominated space, because I personally do not know any other female carpenter apart from you, Sharon.
Thank you very much, Rachel. Yes, I am in that space. We make furniture at Pallet, what people like to call carpentry. And this carpentry is considered a very unprofessional field. Most carpenters in Uganda are a product of a technical college, or they're self-taught, or they went through some form of apprenticeship and then finally started their own business. Most of the work to make furniture, to make a chair, to make a table is very technical and requires a lot of physical space, rather physical strength for now. Hence, that's manual labor. So that's why it's still such a male-dominated space. You have to carry timber, you have to do all that stuff. So that's why it is still very dominated by males. But the problem is most carpenters are good with the technical, but they do not know how to run the business. The business management is where they struggle. And you see, as Michael Garber in his E-Myth talks about, there are three people in a business. There's the technical, the business management, and the entrepreneur. So when the technical decides to run the business, then problems start, because the way a technical person thinks is not the way a business mind would think or an entrepreneur would think. So that is a challenge right now. That's why the carpentry has a bad name right now. People are like, those carpenters are thieves. Those guys are like tailors, they're thieves, because they're very technical. They don't know how to run a business. They will get money and put it where it shouldn't be, you know, because they know the technical, they don't know how to manage a business. So as an entrepreneur, I saw an opportunity right there. I do not know to do technical work. I don't know how to cut wood or whatever. I am not technical, but I have the business knowledge. I know how to run a business. I am an entrepreneur. So I saw that that was the space. There was a need for trustworthy carpenters. People wanted quality products at the right price with someone they can rely on. And that was where the gap was. Everyone was importing because
Sharon, are you with us? Did we lose you? Stella, have we lost Sharon?
Yeah, we've lost her. Just let's just proceed. She'll be back. She'll be back.
Okay, sorry about that, guests today. It's raining in Kampala, Rita, by the way. Raining heavily. So the connectivity, hailstorms.
We're going through a dry spell. It's our winter, but you know, we have dry winter. It was 5 degrees when I woke up today. It's at least 15 degrees now. So, but
amazing. Yes.
What's happening in Uganda?
Okay, so as we wait for Sharon, and as we move into the next stage, I will ask Stella just for us to stretch a bit, to have a breather. But Stella, I noticed we have guests from Geneva, USA, Kenya,
my goodness,
Lesotho, Sierra Leone.
I'm telling you, the whole world is here. The whole world is here, Rachel. Thank you so much, Rachel, and all the panelists. Rita, thank you so much. Sharon, thank you so much. Woo. We have Australia, Eswatini, South Africa, Netherlands, London, Kenya, Japan, South Sudan, Guinea, USA, Uganda, and still counting. Liberia, Miriam is from Germany. Everyone is here, Rachel. And people are so excited and very inspired by their stories. Let me just share some of the comments. So people are talking about the issue about a village, the importance of having a village. So Rita talked about know your allies, build authentic, trustworthy relationships, and well, just make sure that you're building bridges, but not burning bridges. So that is something that has come out so strongly on the chat box. People are really resonating with that. And from Sharon's perspective is that when you are down, you really need a support system. So who is there to encourage you when you've hit rock bottom? So the other theme that people are loving in the chat box is the issue about boldness. Rita, how do you go and get 25 clients from 5? Who does that? That is the lioness herself, being a go-getter. So people are talking about you have limitless potentials. So go ahead and let nobody stop you. And then from Sharon, people want your contacts. They're like, what? Carpenter, how do you venture into a male-dominated space? So people are saying, I am saving you from now henceforth as the most trustworthy carpenter. So we are coming straight from Sharon. So people are really loving that. I have a few questions that have come up. But before I do that, let me just end with some of the comments that are resonating really from the audience. We have not letting labels define you. Very many people, Rita, you will be so glad because you have an ex-PwC sister in the house and who is saying that she had to sit down and reflect and reinvent herself because for a very long time, the brand of the company had defined her. So that has resonated with so many people. The issue about defining your own path and not letting labels define you. The issue about you being your own brand and that you make the company and not the other way around. And then from Sharon, people are saying, hey, it's okay. I did something silly, but I'm not dumb. Okay, so I think that is gonna be people's mantras from now henceforth. When we do something stupid and hit rock bottom, everyone is saying, I did something stupid, but I am not dumb. So pick yourself up and move on. So maybe I'll let Sharon finish before we move on to the questions. What do you think?
Yes, thank you very much for that break, Stella. Sharon, welcome back, and we'll
Yes.
follow on
Sorry,
from where.
yes, I did fall off a bit. So sorry about that.
Yes, not
Yes.
not a problem at all. I attended a webinar, a conference a week ago with over 10,000 people in the UK, and I was told not to apologize for technology because Facebook goes off, Google goes off. So do not worry, Sharon.
Meant or not, don't apologize for,
Yes, for technology, not at all.
Yeah, yeah.
So Sharon, over to you to please continue your story.
Yes. So I was saying that as in this male-dominated space, I went in, I have not gone in to do the technical. I have gone in the business management, which is what is lacking right now. The technical, there's so many carpenters. I am part of Business Network International. I was once the president of a chapter, Sunrise chapter. There is currently another lady that is the leader of that chapter, Madame Penina. But when we have what we call one-to-ones in Business Network, where business people come to your business and understand it and give you advice on what you can do better in your business. So there's the village of BNI. I have a BNI network village. And so one day a few gentlemen came, an engineer as well as someone into marketing. And I was like, you know what, I think I should go to carpentry school and be able to manage a business better. And the gentleman told me, you know what, you don't need to be a carpenter. You don't need to know the technical. You have the business. Leave the technical to the technical. There's so many carpenters, you don't need to. What we lack right now in Uganda, that's why carpentries don't grow so big, is because the technical is lacking. Rather, the business management is lacking. It's not the technical. There's so many. Every day there is a new carpenter. So please don't waste your time going there. Just manage the business better and then teach other businesses how to manage their businesses better as well. So that's how I've managed in a male-dominated space. I've let the males do their good technical thing, the good thing that they are good at. And by the way, many other ladies are coming into this space. There's a lady called Shamila. She runs with, Jamila, Girls with Tools. She's teaching the girls to do carpentry. So before long, this male-dominated conversation is about to be done. There are girls that are coming that are good at carpentry, the technical part as well. So what I focused on for me is the customer. Every customer wants someone that will give them the service at the right price, with the right quality at the right time. That's what everybody is looking for. Whether he's a man, whether she's a woman, they all want the same thing. The customers just want, give me my thing, right price, right time, as you said it would come. So that's what I focus on for me. And it doesn't care about gender.
Yes. Awesome. And I've seen, Sharon, I've seen your furniture. It's very good quality. The price is right. And like you mentioned, reliability. You deliver when you promise. But let's now move into the new normal, which is COVID. And I believe we're already in the post-COVID phase. We purpose not to speak about COVID on this call today because everybody is tired of COVID and life must go on. But Sharon, talk to us about some of the business strategies that you've had to put in place to cushion the pandemic. Specifically because people's incomes have dropped. So nobody would want to buy a chair. People are thinking of food, rent, data for their kids who are homeschooling. So how have you managed to cushion the impact on your business? And how are you selling chairs virtually or selling your furniture virtually?
Okay, thank you very, very much. Yes, we did not want to bring COVID, but well, it's our new normal. So let's talk about it. So the number one thing that we had to think about was how can we work faster and better? Because in as much as COVID was happening, everyone was thinking about the money. Cash was king. Where will we find money? How are we going to go, going forward? What will we do? So there was a revenue recovery plan that we had to come up with. So work faster and better, because suddenly our biggest items, which were the luxury products, people are no longer buying those things. So what do you need to do? We had to rethink our business model. We've been into customized furniture for everybody, but that customized furniture is no more. We had to think about our customers. What do they need now? What can you do that is necessary for your customers? They're no longer buying the luxury furniture, but what do they need right now? So we had to go back to the drawing board and rethink. So we had to rethink functional solutions as opposed to customized living. So functional led into changing our product strategy. And we had to consider how the pandemic is going to affect people's lifestyles. So now more people are going to work at home. What do you need to work at home? You all can sit at the dining table. So every child needs a space where they can sit. So we had to think that the things that we are doing now, what do our customers need? So we had to go back to the drawing board and get away from our model and go more into customer focused, think more about the customer. And indeed, we were lucky, and many customers did need tables because no one had ever planned to homeschool. There were people who were homeschooling, but now everybody must go online and study online. So there was suddenly a need. So we were very fortunate. Everyone needed furniture. And we've been doing a strategy where we make customized. So we don't sell. We don't have a shop where we sell. But we had to rethink that and now make stuff that is ready to go. People could no longer wait 4 days. They're like, I want it now, you know. When you would answer and say, no, give me a week, they'll be like, no, I need it now. So we had to rethink and start to make stuff which we stock up and someone can buy right away. So those are some of the things we had to think about. We had to think about people, our employees. You know, suddenly there's no movement. We are lucky that the president, our service was sort of essential. He allowed carpenters to go to their workshops. But we had to think, now where do the staff stay? They stay so far. There's no public transport. It's so expensive to move them. So we had to move our people closer to the workshop. So we had to think clients, revenue, and people. What do we do in that regard? So those are some of the things we did to make sure that we survive COVID. And those strategies are what we're going with going forward as well. I think you heard the president said schools are not about to be open. So our home solutions are something that we are pushing right now to make sure that everybody has that. So we are trying to tap into a space where we are away from luxury into functional and necessary furniture right now. Yes.
Oh, amazing. Reinventing yourself, reinventing your business away from luxury into functional.
Yes, functional.
Amazing, amazing. Clients, revenue, and the people. Excellent story, Sharon. And I see everyone's asking for your number. So you're going to just get somebody to follow up with all these, these amazing leads. Okay, now Rita and our audience, we're cautious of time and we know we have to allow you to have ask the panel a few questions. So we're almost wrapping up our formal section. But Rita, let's talk about work-life balance, if it exists at all, or work-life integration. How do you juggle this, given your extensive travel around the world for work? I have given up knowing where you are at any one time, because 1 week you're in Kigali, the next you're in Ukraine. So how do you ever feel guilty about leaving home yet again? And how do you keep peace at home with the love of your life, with your husband?
Okay, I think you have to have allies. Am I allowed to draw on that card again?
Yes.
Your family must understand what you're doing, why you're doing it, for you to win them over. Okay, so I'm blessed. The love of my life is my biggest cheerleader. So he probably feels guilty that because I've had to reinvent myself following him every 3 or 4 years to new countries, he recognizes that I've had to be who I am. It is not my choice to become an international consultant and every 2 weeks I'm flying off. But even with that said, I think it's important that you communicate. Sometimes my daughter says to me, Mom, you didn't tell me about that one. And I know I've just been given a yellow card. So it's communication, communication, communication. I think it's important the family understands what it is you're doing. I let them know. But I also communicate to my clients. My clients know my child's name. They know my child's holiday. She's even there. If Nadia is on the call, she's my former PwC boss. In yellow, it says Keza. And when it does, it means it's holiday time and I'm sorry, I am not traveling. I release my schedule a whole year in advance. And I say to people, here it is, book it. But you're not going to touch these areas. So it's a two-way communication. My family knows what I am trying to do and when my intensive work periods are. But similarly, on the client side, I also say to them, this is what's important to me. I'm a woman. I cannot be away beyond a certain amount of time. I also have to be, a little bit at home. So I find that when you communicate schedules with family, it becomes tolerable. As well as when you communicate with the clients, you find that they're able to adjust because they respect your time that you want to make for family. Do I feel travel? Terrible about the super travel. It's really, it gets really bad sometimes. So you throw in a bit of a bribe. I've done consultancies in Zambia. For example, when we lived in Uganda, I think I had work to do in Zambia. I went with Keza. Keza is my daughter. I went with Keza because it was holiday time. That was one time I had to make an exception, but I knew she was going to be able to see her friends. So in the morning when I'd pick up my bags and say, oh, Nana, see you later. I'm going off for the day. I'd leave her in the hotel room. She'd go for her own breakfast, behave like a little princess, and her friends would come and pick her up. And she had her own schedule, which is great because I think she's also turned out to be a pretty independent person. And then, like one time I had a job in Mauritius, and they wanted me to start off with a workshop, like literally the day after Easter. So we made Mauritius our Easter holidays, so as a family traveled over. You make it work. You have to say to yourself, this looks bad. It might look like a negative, but you can, the lemons, and you turn them into lemons. One of the best holidays we've ever had together. My husband is now retired, so that we're back in South Africa. And last year, Rachel, when we talk about the Rwanda, Sierra Leone, those like
yes.
And that's when you say, my love, would you mind? And for me to have him with me in Rwanda, we were going to Gisenyi, which is one of the most stunning, those who know Rwanda, it's beautiful. And I thought to myself, let me lure him a little bit. And he did, he came. And it's fantastic when he comes and the work people can see this Opa that I talk about all the time. And he also gets to see the Ida, the Jessica, the Andrew that I talk about all the time. So you make it work. You have to be, I'm a 7 Habits fan. You have to be conscious about it. You need to know what potentially might be going wrong. And you need to then say to yourself proactively, how can I handle it? And always be looking for a solution. And I think, again, authenticity. When people see what you're trying to do, when the client sees what you're trying to do, when family gets that you're really trying to put them front and center, I think you win them over. So yes, there are those guilty moments, but you really try and make it work.
Yes, amazing. And I see that your daughter Keza is on the line as well.
She is.
She just sent a message. That's awesome. And I know when you were flying to Sierra Leone that time, your husband came and had to wait for you and in between Rwanda and Sierra Leone. Interesting.
Yeah.
So thank you for that, Rita. Sharon, coming back to you. If you were to rewrite a script in your life playbook, what would that be and why?
Okay, thank you very much, Rachel. Let's see, if I was to rewrite a script in my life playbook, I would have left formal employment 2 years earlier than I did. I feel like I stayed there a bit longer than I should have. And those last 2 years there, I feel like I failed to utilize the season in which I was as effectively as I didn't recognize that, the gathering was done and I needed to be stepping out. But part of it is also tied to, the money that I lost. I felt like I need to work a few more years and get back, this money that I have lost. So that incident sort of kept me longer than I should have been in formal employment. So I feel like I should have left earlier, because now when I finally left, I struggled when I had just joined the business world. Yet I feel if I had left earlier, I would have had more time to probably make even more mistakes. But luckily enough, I found BNI, which helped me. So I feel that even if I had left, I had BNI. BNI was there. So I shouldn't have feared to join the business world when I had the opportunity. So that's what I would have changed. I would have left formal employment 2 years earlier than I actually did. That's what I would have changed.
Amazing. And like the saying goes, it's never too late to start. So start where you are, start with the little that you have. But just to raise something on the line now, because everybody keeps saying that consultants and those in self-employment keep pushing people out of employment and keep saying, go, go. And the message really is, it's not, self-employment is not for everybody. And we need people in offices to be able to give us work. Just like Rita has people in PwC to keep the work coming. So everyone on the call should not resign on Monday and say, no, that's it for me.
No, definitely not.
Girls for girls. Okay, and Sharon, our final question to you before we get into the Q&A and before we come to Rita. Please share with us your belly fire parting shot. Something that is going to burn your bellies, that we all want to listen to.
The pressure, belly fire. Rachel, belly fire is for you.
Yes.
But what I would like to share is that, we are all on the move. Don't get too comfortable where you are, recognize the season in which you are, and don't stay too long in there. Get ready to move. Don't get comfortable. There is so much to be done, so many people to lift up, so many ceilings to shatter, spaces to tap into, businesses to start, so much value to add. So please do not get held back by the fear of doing the things that you need to do. And I'm not talking about business. Whatever it is that you need to do in your life to get to a better place where you can then add value in the spaces you are, please don't get too comfortable or too afraid. Do it afraid and change lives of those people around you, because somebody is waiting for you to do something to improve their lives. So keep moving. Yes.
Wow. Whatever you do, keep moving, keep walking, keep running. If you fall, crawl, and start somewhere. Very, very powerful. Thank you for that, Sharon. Rita, your parting shots, your belly fire parting shots. What would you say to us?
I'm actually going to read a quotation from the late Stephen Covey.
Amazing.
Because I'm reading one of the comments over here, and I hope this resonates. He says, if you want small changes, work on your behavior. If you want significant quantum breaks, you work on your paradigms. And I think that's what we've been trying to talk about today. When I say, for example, that you are your own brand, you need to see things differently. So, for example, there's someone here who is asking, as a small business, if I don't have a big brand name behind me, I'm a small company, I've never worked in those ones, how do I break it out? Again, paradigms. You must see the potential that you have within yourself. In everything you do, if you feel you're stagnant, if you feel your work is not going anywhere, change your paradigm. Go back and ask yourself how you look at yourself, even a business idea. We've just heard from Sharon. She perceived herself as being, high-end, beautiful furniture. But in the context of things happening, she, resaw herself and her business in a completely different way. So for me, that's what I would say to everyone. And I say this to the mentees. I say this to the mentors at G4G as we are trying to change things. Don't just be carried by the wave. Be the wave and determine where it is that you want to go. When we talk about changing this continent, that's for me what I'm passionate about as Africans. We can no longer afford to be saying, oh, poor us, things are going, it's so tough, things are against us. No, we must think differently. We must be convinced that we can be that change. And it's not just words. So please, that's what I would say. For me, my belly pipe, I don't know whether it's a parting shot, but that's what
it is.
A lot of people keep thinking,
yes.
let me change this habit. Let me change this behavior. No, it starts with the way you see things and the way you perceive things. When you adjust that, I believe it makes a total difference. And that's why we have tried to give examples, of seeing yourself for who you are. So that's what it is. Change your paradigm.
Amazing, Rita. Be the wave. Do not just ride the wave. Yes, amazing. Rita, a couple of people have requested for you to please reread the quote, because many did not. Yes, kindly, if you could.
They didn't get it. I mean, someone can also type it in the chat.
It's awesome.
If you want small changes in your life, small gradual ones, work on your behavior, okay? But if you want big quantum leaps and changes in your life, quantum breakthroughs, you change your paradigms.
Wow. Paradigm shift. It's all in the mind.
And we talk about it all the time.
Yes.
I think it's a much used word that we really don't stop and reflect about.
Yes.
For me, paradigms, it works, whether it's in the business place, whether it's with a family, whether it's, you might be talking to your husband, having an argument, and it's until you say, wait a moment, what are we really talking about over here? I was talking to people, I think the cohort that Sharon is actually part of, about negotiation. And I was saying to them, sometimes we walk into a negotiation thinking we're discussing a particular issue, but it isn't until you stop, you listen, and you get into that person's head to really understand. That's changing paradigm, really understanding, where things coming from. So I would encourage people to read up on it. So The 7 Habits for Highly Effective People is a really good book to start off with. I think there's almost a dedicated chapter in there. But for me, it's
amazing. Yes, awesome. A big round of applause for Rita and Sharon. I'll raise my glass of water to you just to thank you for an awesome session. I know we're going into a Q&A session and I'll soon be inviting Stella, but I want to recognize and point out the fact that we have Alan Asimwe on the line. Alan is a founder of Girls for Girls, and this is no mean achievement. Alan, please wave to everybody. And I know your co-founders from around the world are on the call as well. So awesome journey, started with baby steps, but look where we are. We're now global. So thank you very much, Rita and Sharon. Everyone on the call would love to go until 7 p.m., but we're cautious of time. We want to close at 4:30 because time is discipline, time management. And so I'll now invite Stella. I'll hand over to you, Stella, just to take us through the Q&A. But thank you very much, Rita and Sharon. Another clap for you.
Wow.
Awesome.
Oh my goodness. When you talk about fire, this is an understatement. The chat is on fire, the panelists on fire, the moderators on fire. Everybody is very excited. So don't just ride the wave. Be the wave, so that is gonna be tweetable. So when you look at Rita, I think that is gonna be on the tweets are really coming. And from Sharon, somebody even said, who moved my cheese? Recognize when your season is over. That's another good book. So if you're looking for a book to read in this season, you have a recommendation of Who Moved My Cheese and 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So let's move over to the questions. So many things are coming on, Rich. And the first one is about mental health. So we have a lady who has been working for the last 13 years non-stop. And she's asking, when do you know when to take a break so that you can transition into the next season of your life? And so she needs guidance on the same. But also on the same mental health theme, there's also a question from Sharon. How long did it take, actually a question to Sharon, how long did it take for you to overcome depression when you lost all your money to a con man? How long did it take you? And basically that's a theme that Rachel, I think, especially during this season, many people are going through mental health issues because suddenly something happened, disruption happened, jobs are no longer there. You've been told to go home on unpaid leave. Suddenly you need to start a business and you do not have enough capital. I mean, people are battling different mental health issues. So I think we should speak to that. That's the first thing. Rachel, back to you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Stella. And a couple of questions have come to my phone as well, so I'll read those. Rita, do we want to start with you for you to take the first question on when do you know when to take a break after 13 years?
Okay, so look, this is a technical area and it's an area I wouldn't pretend to be an expert in, but it's to talk, it's to release it, it's not to bottle it up. So I think for me, that is why it's important that you know who you go to talk to look for inspiration, to look for that understanding. So it's important that, yes, the person is aware that she's going through mental stress, but there are different levels here, and that's why I'm very cautious now. If you feel that it is something that is extremely serious, then go and seek the appropriate help. There are counselors that are available. I believe G4G Uganda would be able to help you with, because some of our best are actually, people in that space. But if we're talking about, where you're just feeling, where am I going? This doesn't look good, and COVID, clearly maybe I'm on the retrenchment list and things like that. This is when you go to your village. And this is what I always say, when we talk about village, I always say to the mentees, it's not just about having a village. You must know who is in your village and why they are in your village. I have friends who sometimes it's just to listen. They're great listeners. Then there are some, Alan is one of them, who is the solution provider. You don't go to Alan and you don't want to hear the truth. You're in trouble if you do. So you must know those different people that you're able to go and draw inspiration from, or be able to clarify things with. That's what I do. But if the person feels that it really is overwhelming, I would encourage that, that they go and seek appropriate help.
Excellent, Rita. And I know we have a very good counselor in G4G. That's Grace Linda.
Yes.
Grace Linda, I don't know if Grace Linda is on the call just to help with that. And before I come to you, Sharon, just to talk about your transition from DAMCO, one of the things we always tell employees as an HR specialist now, so I'm wearing my hat as a former head of HR for 18 years, is the day you get your appointment letter, please treat that as your termination letter. Do not get too comfortable, and do not sit in your chair and slouch and put your hands in your seat. Sit at the edge of your seat, so that when your HR head calls you in and says, sorry, Sharon, I'm sad to be letting you go, you should have a big smile on your face and say, wow, so it's time. I'm ready. I've been waiting for this day. Thank you very much for turning my appointment letter into my termination letter. So I guess at times it's the denial that happens to all of us, because I have been involved in terminations where people have refused to leave their offices. People have put their spouses on phone and say, Rachel, tell my spouse. I cannot tell my spouse. And I say, but we have had this discussion. We've had it for the last 3 years. And they say, no, I thought I was going to work till I was 55 or 60, depending on when your retirement age is. So smell the coffee and know when it's time to run. So Sharon, is 13 years too long for somebody to work? When should they take a break? What was your experience with DAMCO? How long had you worked?
13 years. Yes, I was in DAMCO for 12 years, I think. Yes,
okay.
I was yes, for that long in one organization. The roles kept changing, but I was in the same group of companies, the Epimola Mask Group. And I personally felt that I was there for so long. That's why I said I should have left 2 years. I spent 2 years longer than I should have. By the 10th year, I felt that my value, actually by the time I left, I felt I wasn't adding value in that space anymore. So that was for me when I felt that way, when I no longer wanted to come, I no longer wanted to teach anybody anything. I felt like I knew it all. My value, I was not adding value in that space. So for me, that is always a trigger. If you're not adding value in that space, it is time to either move on to another job or to do that thing that you've always wanted to do. So if you're looking for a sign, that is the sign. But then how do you do it? If you really, get someone that you're accountable to and say in 2022, I need to be out of here. So get someone that you're accountable to, someone that you respect, someone that if I set goals with this person, get a coach. We don't like to get coaches. We think it's for, I don't know what sort of people. Get a mentor, get those people around you that you're going to draw your strength from to help you take that leap. Get a business advisor, talk to somebody that knows much about business and start preparing for your exit. The problem is we suddenly wake up one day and say, today is the day, I've had it. Then you break down and then you don't go anymore. And yet we could have planned it nicely. I think Rita, I say she's the one that's good at planning. We could learn a thing or two from her. Just plan for your exit and say, this is my end point. And also when you're not adding value anymore, that's usually a sign that it's time to move on from that space. Either a new job or do that thing you've always wanted to do. So yeah, that's it from me, really. I hope I've been able to answer that question.
Yes, excellent. And I see a question just came in, Stella. Before I hand back to you, somebody asked how you mentally prepare for your exit. And because in my lifetime of 18 years as an HR person, I have sadly terminated over 500 people, which is not a very nice thing probably, but had to be done inevitably. So how do you prepare for your exit? You need to know that the company does not owe you a job. Do not think the company owes you a job. And likewise, do not think that, it's a relationship. The company can choose to downsize. The global team could sit down in Geneva or US, New York, and take a decision to close Uganda, close East Africa, and say, we want to exit the market, call the head of HR and say, please terminate the people, handle them. We do not care how you do it, but please terminate them within the employment law. So please remember that the company does not owe you a living. And above all, something I like to share please remember in Uganda alone, we have 43 universities. So every year we let out 43 universities, Rita, and every year we have 35,000 graduates. Every year, 35,000 people graduate onto the streets of Kampala. And this does not include Ugandans in the diaspora. So you can imagine the option that your employer has. The employer has so many options. And maybe the G4G team will arrange a session on Gen Zs now. You have Gen Zs who are leaving university with a master's, with SCCA and a first degree. And they want your job. And you've been in that job for the last 20 years. So how do you compete with that? And you don't have a master's because you were too comfortable in your job. You always rose up because of experience. So the reality, I know Sandra asked the question on how to prepare for it mentally. Begin to say to yourself that I could leave anytime. And have the power. Rita said, decide when you want to walk. Let it be in your destiny to choose that now is my time to walk into the MD's office or head of HR's office and hand over my letter and say, it's been awesome partnering with you, but I'm leaving. Because it's a partnership. They need you as much as you need them, but they do not owe you that job. They have options. So Stella, back to you, because I'm looking at my clock and we have 10 minutes.
A few more minutes to go, and we have to bundle up all these questions. So the next thematic area is around networking. So we really talked about grow your village in Girls for Girls. We talk about grow your village, nurture your village. Rita talked about networking. Sharon talked about having a support system. But the question is, how do you really build these authentic relationships? How do you do that? Especially if you have not worked with the big companies, PwCs, the Damcos, the Deloittes of this world. How do you build a network that will be equivalent to your network? Closely followed by another question still in the networking space. How do you build a network with clients who are not necessarily friends? So some of your stakeholders, the customers, or even suppliers, and they are really not your friends. Then the next thematic area, so that is the first one. Part A of the question. Part B of the question is, how do you rally people for the same cause? So we have Bana, who is also very passionate about Africa, and she's asking, how do you get people to rally for a particular cause to get Africa on its feet? So Rachel, back to you.
Awesome. And I won't repeat the questions. I'll start with Sharon and then come to Rita to pick up any of the questions, especially on relationship building, networking. And Sharon, we'll start with you.
Thank you very much. How do you build networks? That's the question. How do you build trust? Well, trust takes time. Trust takes time. You will not meet somebody today and then they build your trust. If you're trying to build trust in a relationship or a business relationship, they will have to try you out sometime, see what you do, and with time, they start to trust the service that you do. So what do you need to even get into that doorway? You need a network. So for me in business, what I have used, I was very new in the business of carpentry. I needed to get out in a space, and I was lucky that there was a Business Network International. BNI was available. It's a very intentional referral networking group where people intentionally want to give each other business. I was in a space where I was in logistics forever. I couldn't count on those clients for business anymore. They were talking another language. I was now talking another language. So I had to join BNI and build relationships in BNI. And it is not that when I joined BNI, they immediately gave me business. That didn't happen. I had to open up my life to them as well as get to know them. So I shared what I had and they shared what they have. So it is opening yourself up to these people to know who you are, being authentic, being real with them. And it is a process. It is a process and it takes time. Even if it is Rita, finally to get to the 23 clients, it took time to get to that point. You leverage on what you already have and build on that. So for me, I used a network called BNI, Business Network International. I don't have any other answer but to say for business, that is the space that has helped me grow and get customers. It is tapping into other people's networks through an intentional referral networking organization. But really at the end of it all, it's all about building trust. And how do you build trust? They have to try you out. You have to open yourself up to them and be honest and real. Yes.
Amazing, amazing, Sharon. Thank you very much for that. Rita, over to you.
Okay, so building trust. Two critical components. One is about competence. And this is for the Generation Z, the millennials. There are no shortcuts. For you to be a master in your industry, it means you've got to invest in it. I think in Girls for Girls, we talk about investing in your information gathering years. For you to be a consultant, people are willing to pay $1,000 a day for. It means you have to have certain value. How do you get that value? It means you need experience. It means you need to read like mad. It means you need to be testing things out. You need to have that credible experience. So competence, you have to work on it. Yeah, if you need to study harder, then you do it. I've signed up for a second master's degree in an MSc in public health, because I recognize that I'm playing in a field that, you know, has gurus in it. And I want to be as sharp as those guys. So there's no two ways around it. Competence, you have to invest in yourself. Read like mad, associate with the right people, grow your network within the area that you operate in. So that's one, competence. But two is character. And that is where, when we talk about be your authentic self, it is how do you come off? And competence people will see. They'll see Stella walk in, she's articulate, she can tell us about pharmacy and things like that. But the character is hidden. Huh? It's something that you learn today, you learn tomorrow, and people learn your character by looking at the way you do things. I can stand over here and I can sing to you all kinds of things and tell you how wonderful a consultant I am. But you will still judge me by monitoring and looking at the way I actually execute. So character and competence are what are critical to building trusting relationships. Now, don't worry about the bigger world. First, start with the few people that you need to tackle. And for me, that's why I always say have a plan. If you say, so for instance, if we take Sharon, when she was breaking out into the furniture space, I don't think she ran after 1,000 people. You start off with a manageable bit. So whether you want to break into consulting, whether you want to start up your own business that is, within furniture or catering or whatever it is, first stay focused. If you can build trusting relationships with even 3 people, remember the example that I gave. Once you've won those people over, guess what? They become your biggest marketers. So the ladies that, for instance, believed in me in PricewaterhouseCoopers, their networks became my networks because they believe in me. They know I'm competent. I will never embarrass them. But 2, they know I have integrity and that I will deliver. They're willing to put their name on the line to say, go with that lady called Rita. So don't worry. I think sometimes people get worried about how will I penetrate to my 1,000th client? No, first focus on the small. For those of you who, again, the 7 habits, if you've looked at the circle of influence vis-a-vis the circle of concern, we're worried about many things. We're worried about what COVID is going to do to the environment. We're worried about how will I reach clients across the border in Kenya or DRC and that type of thing. No, first start small. Because when you become a master in that particular area, which is the example that I was giving in Namibia, when the first few companies that believed in me, and when one CEO was telling the other one, hey, have you been interviewed? Once you have that, then you're able to grow your influence. So be patient. And I say this again to the young people on the call, because I think a lot of times we want to start off big. We want to enter the market and already have a ripple effect and people are talking. No, it starts small and you need to be able to consistently grow it. So if you continuously do that, you're continuously investing in your relationships and maintaining those relationships, you will find that your circle of influence begins to grow. So for me, that's how I started. I mean, it was in Namibia. Namibia exported me to Zimbabwe and to Zambia and to Eswatini. It was at an international conference that someone said, hey, Ukraine, you're looking for an M&E person? She's going. But what made them say that? Competence and character. They knew that I knew what I was doing and that this woman can deliver. And that's how, it has ended up happening. So for those of you, I'll address the last question, the one about Africa. For those of you who want, if you're feeling that hunger like me, first of all, focus. choose what it is that you're good at. Yeah, there's no point in me now going, for example, and saying I'm going to become a climate change expert. No, for me, I'm 48 years old. That is now, it is now behind me. It's for someone else to go and do. So pick your area, because competence matters. You need to go to where you're already strong, and then build those villages, build those relationships, have those allies. And like I said, once those are firm, then you can grow it, because those allies then open up the world for you. So I'm very happy. Whoever it is who is talking about Africa, you find a way of getting in touch with me. I'm with Girls for Girls, and we take it forward.
Awesome.
Let me give this last example, then I'll stop talking. When Alan asked me, she invited me to come to Girls for Girls, and I saw it in Uganda. I went to Namagunga, my former high school. I loved it. And I thought to myself, I'm taking this thing to South Africa. One of the selfish reasons I brought it to South Africa for is because we were just resettling into South Africa, and really my only network was my family. And I really wanted to get into the bigger South African picture. So initially that's why I brought Girls for Girls South Africa. But I also saw that given the fraud that was happening, the Zuma stories and things like that, we needed a cleaner, I call them a cleaner, part of the population. So I wanted a breed of young women who will be ethical and know what they're all about. That was initially my dream. But I tell you, that was 1 year ago. I then saw how it melds into the African thing, because today, Girls for Girls is no longer about South Africa for me. Look at what I'm doing over here. The partnerships that are happening with Malaysia, that are happening with, we're now talking about opening up Girls for Girls in Senegal, with Kati, who is a lady that I work with, but because she sees the passion. We are back in touch with people in Kenya. So sometimes you don't even realize it, that destiny comes towards you. So my final quote, Paulo Coelho: when you want something badly enough, the world will conspire to give it to you. Your job, you be competent, as highly competent as possible. You focus on growing your network, the opportunity will come to you. I genuinely believe that. It will come to you, but your eyes have to be open, and you need to be able to embrace it. So the job we want to do in Africa is huge. But invest in that time, build those relationships, it will come to you. Already, I want your contact so that we can talk about it going forward.
Wow, awesome. And our dear audience, we seek your indulgence to go on for an extra 10 minutes just to answer some burning questions that have come in. We know everybody has to hit the road and get back to their desks. Please give us an extra 10 minutes. Sharon and Rita, I'm coming back to you because somebody asked about office politics. But Sharon first, somebody asked what your 2027 looks like. Who's Sharon going to be in 2027, 2028?
Thank you very much. 2028, I wonder, my business will be like an IKEA of some sort. I don't know if you all know IKEA. So we will be, IKEA in Africa, Ugandan made. So Palit will be like IKEA. That is what it is looking like. That is the big dream for business. And I will have a technical institute where girls can come and train in carpentry, and we shall be using state-of-the-art technology. Oh, it is big. It's going to be amazing. So that is what my 2027 looks like. Yes, awesome. 2028. Awesome. It looks big. It's very, very big.
Wow.
Yes, and I will be, I'll probably have 2 other businesses as well, most likely.
Excellent. Thank you for that, yes. Sharon. And Rita, thank you very much for that, Sharon. 2028, we are looking out for you. Rita, just one final one to you before I hand back to Stella. Somebody asked, what if you're adding value and office politics just impedes your implementation? How do you go about that?
Okay, so this is where you need to be strategic. Your bosses are all different temperaments, different characters. Get into their head. Your boss will value you if you make she or he look good. So for me, I understand that. I get that. Like, that's why someone is a partner. That's why someone is a director. My job is to do my job, but to do it so well that I allow them to shine. When you do that, you've just banked with him or her. That person now has a certain value towards you, which means that whatever you've banked with her or him, you can go and withdraw from it. Guys, it's still about relationships. When a person feels that you're more for her or for him in the workplace, they're more likely to be that person that promotes you. And it might require you to be a little bit patient. I think one of the biggest, I remember saying to one of my senior managers that I'm coming for your job. For me, I'm here. I'm not, this was in Zambia. I'm not here to be a senior consultant for the next 3 years. I'm 28 years old. The other people that I'm with, are like 4 years younger than, bad strategy. Because I burnt, I burnt what potentially could have been a good relationship. So for me, that was a good learning point. What I've now learned, and I say it all the time, like, how do I make you shine? When you do that, then you've disarmed them, because suddenly they're going to be the ones that promote you. And I think that's sometimes the problem. You think, oh, they don't like me, they don't. No, what is it they want? What is it they're looking for in the workplace? Give it to them. And okay, I'm talking ethical here, yeah? I'm not talking about all those other negative things that people can ask about. But understand their motives, understand their strategies, understand what is important for them. Is it more money in the bank account? Is it to expand the business? Is it to gain greater visibility? Whatever it is, champion them, support them. They will be your biggest promoter.
Wow. Awesome. Make your boss shine.
Do not shine.
Outcompete your boss. And that's why he's boss or she's boss. Amazing.
It will come, but you'll get there too. Yeah.
You'll get there. Lovely. Thank you once again, Rita and Sharon. Stella, I'll hand back over to you just to wrap this up. And I know we've got lots of questions that have come through and are still coming through. Stella, if possible, it would be good for the Secretariat to email this to the different cohorts, because we do not want to lose these excellent questions. And maybe Sharon and Rita will take some time off this weekend to respond to some of them, and maybe call them back again one day, because we clearly need 4 hours and not 1.5 hours.
There's somebody who said we should have an all-nighter. We are still contemplating on that. Whoa, fire in the house. Thank you so much. Rita, thank you. Sharon, thank you. Rachel, thank you so much for an amazing session. And Girls for Girls, flowers to all of you, Thank you so much. Now there's a monster that we need to crush called fear. So that theme is so big, we cannot even start addressing it right now. But if you are interested, because that is really what we stand for in Girls for Girls, if you're interested in what we are all about, please contact us. Those are our contact details. Please follow us on Twitter, follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram and on LinkedIn. Please contact our coordinator, that Patricia Alum, and she'll be able to give you more information about Girls for Girls, because we want to inspire all of you to gain the courage, the vision, and the skills to lead in your spheres of influence. And there would be no courage if there's no fear. So that theme about fear, please contact us, and we know how to drag that fear out of us, and so that we can do it afraid. I just want to end this session by saying thank you. Yes, we need more time. Yes, girls talk for 20,000 words a day. Thank you, because we have not yet exhausted and it's a Friday night. Thank you, because we'll continue this conversation somewhere else. But a big round of applause to each of you who decided to come for this webinar today.
Yes.
And we have reached a peak of 312 people.
Wow.
312 people from all over the world hungry to listen to your stories. Ladies and gentlemen, because I know there are gentlemen on the call. At the end of the day, do it afraid. Whatever you want, do it afraid. Everything you've ever wanted is on the other side of fear. So start now, start today, and start with what you have. Yeah. And see you on the next Fireside Chat, second Friday of every month. Goodbye.